Right, and we are live. Welcome everyone to Inmusik's second webinar. My name is Barbara and I take care of investor relations over here at Inmusik. With me today is none other than our co-founder and CEO, Mr. Stephen Brett. Hi, Steve.
Hey, Barbara, how are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Good.
And thank you once again for taking time out of your crazy schedule to join us on here.
No problem, it's always a pleasure.
Right, so let's get the ball rolling. Now, I'm sure you guys have all read the details of the webinar, but just to kick off the flow, today's topic will be new ways to earn in the music industry. So, by the way, we've also got our chat moderators on here. We've got Val, we've got Pia and Vivienne staying on top of things here. So we'll be doing a Q&A later on. So guys, just feel free to pop in your questions as we go along. And also, we're going to be announcing a special offer towards the end of the webinar, so please stay tuned for that. Okay, so Steve, you've been in the music industry for 17 years now, so you've pretty much seen the evolution of how things have been running in that space. Could you tell us firsthand, since you've worked with artists directly, what has changed about the artist experience from the old days to now?
Sure, and a good place to start, yeah. So I guess from the artist perspective, when you go back to the older days of the industry, when it was CDs and records were the main kind of distribution of music, it was very expensive to record music in those early days. Like going to a studio was going to cost you an arm and a leg, and it effectively meant without having a record label behind you, it was near impossible to be massively successful. You needed a really strong record label in order to help you to get onto the main stage. It's as simple as that. When you look at it today, though, my goodness, it's so much easier for the distribution side. I mean, with a laptop, my laptop here, it's a recording studio. I just need a decent microphone and a guitar that's behind me. And so I can record pretty good music really, really easily and effective, very, very, very cheap. Plus also, it's easy for me to distribute music if I was to that way inclined. I can upload my music onto numerous different websites for free. So there's no cost to distribute anymore. But now the major problem for the industry is about, it's just competition. It's standing out from the crowd is the hardest part because there's so much content. But then also is making money. It is from streaming, it is very, very difficult to make proper money. In fact, it's near impossible, I think, unless you're like a mega superstar. You're not earning enough to pay any sort of bills at all, even pay for the cost of your laptop to record your music. So yeah, I think that's the main difference. It's very expensive, or sorry, it's cheap these days, but it's very hard to make money.
What about on the business side of things? What would you say has been the major change there?
Oh, wow, business. It's literally a 360 from the way it used to be. So think about it like this. If you have, back in the days when it was CDs and records, it was limited listening, but unlimited spending. And what I mean by that is that I could listen to only the music I had in my music collection, or if I wanted to call up a DJ on a local radio station and request a song, that was the only way I could find the song that if I didn't have it already in my collection. So limited listening. But it was unlimited spending because I could purchase as many CDs and records as I wanted to, as long as I could afford to do so. So nowadays, it's the exact reverse of that. So now it is unlimited listening, but it's limited spending. So right now, I could in seconds find pretty much any song as obscure as you can think on either YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, or what other various different streaming platforms are out there. But unless I'm crazy and I want to subscribe to multiple different streaming platforms, I'm spending $9 a month to subscribe to Spotify. So it's unlimited listening, but limited spending. And this is one of the reasons why it's so hard for people to make money from recorded music these days. And this was one of the key things we wanted to solve in music, actually. It was a way to create an unlimited listening experience because we all love that. We love being able to listen to whatever we want, whatever we want to listen to, whenever we want to listen to it. But also to introduce this unlimited spending. Now, to do that, though, requires giving a huge incentive for people to be willing to spend more than just $9. And so we really started working to create that model, which we did. We've created that, and that's what this whole thing is about. And we've done our best to try create this win-win scenario as best as possible.
Could you maybe elaborate more on that? Let's say, what is Inmusik doing to create this win-win scenario? I mean, is that even possible?
You know, when we first started working on this, it was that was the question. Is this even possible? Like, how could we structure something within the music industry that all the major the players could benefit from? So if we're going to tackle this problem, we need to make sure that the major labels, because there's no point in doing this without them, because they all have a monopoly on all content. So we need to make sure the major labels are getting their win. We need to make sure the artist is getting their win. And to get fans to spend more, we need to make sure that they're getting their win, but a new win as well, to incentivize them to spend more. So how it works basically is that each piece of valuable content on our platform is split into 3 pools, all done and managed by smart contracts, which is the Inmusik smart contract. And so first pool is easy to explain. It's the artist pool. So all revenues that come through in any way into the song gets split into these 3 pools. The artist pool then pays out the stakeholders, so the major labels or their publishers or their managers, the artists, whoever owns a percentage of the song basically, and that's governed by the artist pool. The other easy one to explain is the referral pool. So the referral pool is anybody who wants to work into the system. And so therefore, let's say I've got a lot of followers and I share a new song from some obscure band, and because of my share, it starts to spread across the network, then I deserve a fair reward for that. And so that's what the referral pool does. Now, it's a smaller percentage, of course. But it's relative to the value that's added. So the value that's added by the artist is significant, and then this is another important piece of value, so it deserves to be rewarded. Then the piece then that we've created, which is the new part, and that nobody's ever done it like this before, is what we call the community pool. The idea here is that it's shared success. So essentially how this works is that a fan, if they want to participate in the success and the future success of an artist, they can basically buy a stake of that community pool. And with that stake, you can almost consider it like an investment. So I'm basically putting a stake in the ground and saying that I own this much of this pool at this moment in time. And so therefore, the earlier that I am into that pool, the better. So if I'm the first voter, I'm probably going to hit my maximum return of investment, which we kind of set a cap on. And the more that I put in will determine what my return, how much I'll actually gain back. And so it's doing 2 key things for the industry. So first is it increases the entire economy around music. So if you think about it, this is a new revenue stream, and it's an unlimited revenue stream. So more people will start to put money in, expecting they're going to get a return on their investment. So therefore, more money will circulate around recorded music than ever before. And as you know, we've been chatting to a lot of very big names in the industry, and a lot of people are excited about this because it just opens up possibilities in ways that were never done before. And if you think about it, like the way a city works, like the more money that starts to circulate around the city, the more opportunities it creates for everybody in the ecosystem. And so that's what we're aiming to achieve. The more money that circulates around this token votes, the more money will be in the ecosystem for the entire community, the music community. But it just makes sure that the payouts are bigger for the artists, the labels, managers, but then the fans are getting bigger returns of investment too. And then the second thing it does, which I think is critical, is it helps to create this vibrancy around new content. So if I am going to be rewarded for being the first voter, it's now I have a vested interest in going out and hunting down really great talented music, and trying to find what's the next big thing. So if I find that artist or find that song that's going to be a commercial hit over the next period of time, or even if it's not a commercial hit, even if it just does very, very well, I can still get a good return on my investment. So it creates this vibrancy again around new music, which is something I think the music industry is actually crying out for. So that's essentially how it works, and that's what we've created.
Right. These, so all the 3 pools, how they work, so on and so forth, these are all pretty new concepts for everyone, and especially for our audience here. And I can imagine one question that most, if not all, would be asking is, in realistic terms, what do you think are the expectations around the earnings for all the players here? The labels, the artists, and the fans?
Actually, I thought you might ask that question. As you know, everybody asks us this question, like, what does this really look down to? And what does it boil down to? Who's going to earn what, and how's this going to work? So I thought the best thing to do, actually, being preemptive, is to create a little presentation on this, just 3 slides, which will show and visualize everything. So let me share my screen here. That's probably the way to go. Okay, you can let me know when that's when you can see that. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, great. So, okay, this is an extreme example, obviously, but we just want to show the potential for this. So, looking at Ed Sheeran and his song "Shape of You," which I think was the most successful song on Spotify last year, and the first day alone, that song had 56 million streams, which is amazing,
Wow, that's
just crazy. Yeah, and over the course of the first month, he had, or sorry, that month after that song was released, he had almost 40 million monthly unique monthly listeners. And so we've done some various different modeling and testing and surveys and things like that, and we've determined it'll be more than 1% on an artist like Ed Sheeran. But let's stick with something kind of slightly on the pessimistic side. Let's assume 1% of those monthly listeners were to say they would vote on this song. That's nearly 400,000 people. And again, we went on the low side here. Like the average token vote for someone like Ed Sheeran would be significantly higher than this. But considering there'd be a lot of independent, and independent artists on the platform may have smaller amounts in the initial stages. Let's take an average of $5 per vote. So 400,000 by 5 is almost $2 million, which is new revenue that this song would never have generated in any other way, thanks to this new business model. And then why labels, managers, and artists are loving this is if you look at what Spotify would pay. So just to clarify something, we kind of rounded a number to 114 million streams. And the reason being is that Spotify only pays one play per IP address over a 24-hour period. So even if you had, say, 250 million streams or like 500,000 during the first month, it wouldn't actually be exact payable events. So we just hypothetical scenario, 114 million streams that are payable events on Spotify would pay out at a maximum $500,000, and that's absolutely the maximum that they would pay out. Because Inmusik's business model is different. We take the first stake in every single song, and we invest in every single song. So therefore, we get a return on investment there. We don't take from the streaming side. And so therefore, our streaming payouts, again, hypothetical scenario, it'll most likely be a bit bigger than this, but $627,000 generated from streams. But if we were to take the voting that came through, the $2 million, and like split it down the middle and add that to like the artist pool, which is somewhat realistic because I think the major labels are saying that they would like to get 50% because they're adding a huge amount of value. This is only possible because of the content. So that works out at $1.6 million in the first month on this hypothetical and potentially pessimistic view of what this could pay back. When you look at Spotify,
I mean,
go ahead.
Over almost more than 3 times.
More than 3 times.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah. So this is why labels, managers, and artists are really excited about this model and why they're committing their time and energy to making this work with us. But then also, don't forget the fans. This is why fans will love Inmusik, because on Spotify, they passively consume. They just listen to music. And by the way, I love this too. I just listen to music pretty much all day, every day as I'm working away. And so, yeah, exactly. So that is absolutely fine. However, for those who want to participate in success and be a bit more actively involved, which may be only like 5% of my time, there's a payout of almost $1 million that will be distributed amongst the fans. The early voters, the people who get in the very, very start, will be the first to get their maximum return of investment. So they'll reach their $5 pretty quickly. And then we kind of cap it at the moment, again, hypothetical, but I think we're realistically 100x return of investment is fair. So if I put in $5 and I get $500 back, that's pretty good. And that's better return of investment than you invest in the company, most of the time. For like a later stage investment, certainly. So if I'm an early investor, I could get 100x return here. And then, of course, the last fans in this particular scenario are not going to get paid anything. They're going to be getting pretty much zero. They won't be getting their money back. But remember, this is month 1, and each token vote on Inmusik is a lifetime vote. So it means that once you put your stake in, you will always earn from the payouts that happen with this particular song. You can't sell it. It's like it's locked in because it's a lifetime vote. And the reason we do this is we don't want this to be gimmicky, and we don't want to have a kind of a trading element to around the music, because the music is the important piece here. So it's a lifetime investment, but you'll always get payouts. So month 2, everybody who's investing in month 2 will start paying off everybody in month 1, and then it again resets as it goes through each month going forward. And so yeah, that's essentially how it works. And so I can stop sharing my screen now. There we go.
I know,
But
just
hopefully that gives a visualization to how it all works and what some sort of expectation of what the payouts would be.
exactly. I was going to say it's a bit crazy, but to actually see the figures, because yes, it's a good concept in theory, so on and so forth. But once you actually see these figures, then it really puts into context, what Inmusik can do to improve or maybe even solve, certain processes and, all these elements in the music industry.
And you think about it, that's just even one song. I mean, that's
Right.
one song. If we got a major label artist onto the platform, which we're in the process of finalizing the licensing.
Right.
So once that's done and we have a lot of content on here, there's thousands of songs that are going to have a similar result, especially the early days is going to be like,
Right.
It's the Wild Wild West for a little while. But when it starts to stabilize and new content is being released, that songs that are getting like, 10 million to 100 million streams, you can imagine what sort of revenue that's generated. And for the business model of Inmusik, by the way, because we don't take a percentage of the, because it's $9 for everybody to listen to unlimited music, like the kind of the traditional streaming model. But Inmusik doesn't make its money necessarily in that way. While we will make some money in that way, we will be the first staker on every single song. And then we're committed to, because the payouts from that would be huge, absolutely huge. We've done the maths; they're gigantic. But we're not, looking to profit from every single cent that happens through that mechanism. We will be putting money back into the community to give free token votes to people to incentivize them to support music, and to get in the kind of the game element of this as well, to get excited about investing, and playing around with this kind of these bets, for want of a better way of describing it. So we're committed to making sure that we incentivize the entire thing by taking some of the profits and putting it back in. So it's very exciting what this could potentially lead to.
Actually, so there's this keyword you said earlier, it was lifetime. When you said that, I just, the Beatles popped into my head, and I was just thinking, like, if, this sort of platform, if Inmusik was around during the time of the Beatles when they were just starting to, hit fame. And I mean, it's been like, what, 4 or 5 decades since
Yeah.
I mean, imagine.
And to show how she's a great example, because to show how valuable that content is, like the copyright for the Beatles actually exchanged hands. The remaining Beatles no longer own the copyright to their songs. I think it's now with the Michael Jackson and whoever bought that. I'm not even sure who. Yeah, believe it or not. Yeah, exactly. But because it's valuable, like that copyright is valuable. But just one thing to clarify: Inmusik is not taking a percentage. Or sorry, the fans that are investing are not taking a percentage of the copyright. They're just taking a percentage of revenues generated through the smart contract on Inmusik. And while we are negotiating as well, by the way, with the labels, we won't get this immediately, but in the future, we can do this once we prove the model. It won't be just payouts from the community pool. It will be a share of the revenue coming from streaming. It potentially will be a share of the revenues from sync licensing. So if Ed Sheeran's song was used on a movie and that gets a big payout, that would also could potentially, now again, there's a lot of things that need to be sorted out for this to work, but that could eventually be rolled into this. And so all of the revenues generated.
Applications, yeah.
Exactly. And so, of course, I don't want to get into a scenario where we're promising things that we can't commit to, but that's why I use the example of just being the community pool. It still works even with just the community pool and the investments that come through there. But when you roll in all of the revenues that come through a particular piece of content, it's significant money that will be generated over time. So it's very interesting.
Definitely. And well, I know at this point it might be a pretty obvious answer, but would you say that blockchain really is the right mechanism for all of this to work?
Well, think about it. The regulatory piece that revolves around this is significant as well, of course. We need to make sure we're protecting every investor's investment. And we need to make sure that it's not just accredited investors, like with investing in startups, for example. It's generally only accredited investors that can do so. So for us to open this up into everybody, we have to go through a particular mechanism to make sure that we are keeping all of the investor in the songs, keeping all of their records and everything is as transparent and as fair and as mathematically set as possible, so that the system just works. And that blockchain works perfectly for this, because it's automatic trust that's in the system. The content is not in one centralized place, and therefore we don't need to necessarily audit every single step and thing we do. every single transaction will be on a publicly distributed ledger, therefore viewable by anybody. So there can never be a question over who owns what, where, when, how. All those sort of questions are automatically answered. So it also, I think, reduces the risk for the investor, in the sense that they understand that because they know how it works, the trust is there, so they can be kind of sure at knowing the rules behind the game, and therefore I think reduces the risk for them to take that first bet in the first place. But then another very important part of this, which is one thing I love about the whole crypto space and blockchain space, is that actually the network is owned by the token holders. So people who are purchasing tokens for the sound tokens, they own the network. And so any participation in this, in the future success of an artist, any participation then is therefore owned by the network, which means that the company is no longer, even though the company is the user experience behind this, it's, if the company or some reason something happens, at least the network will always exist. And so those earnings are at least defined, and it's clean, and it's clear, and it's crisp for everybody.
It's a really powerful thing.
I agree. It's owned by the community, and that's what I love. This is why I love this whole thing.
Mm-hmm. And wow, yeah, I think we've actually already pretty much covered everything that we meant to discuss. I'm sure at this point the audience would have some questions.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea, actually. I think we're time-wise, we have time for a few questions if there's something there. So let's see what's coming through.
Okay, there's one here. How do investors make money in the process?
So investors for Inmusik. So with people who are investing in Inmusik that are purchasing tokens right now, obviously that depends on like their return will come as the token increases in value. And so we will be, again, fully regulated, done in the right way, so that it's all protected and all that kind of thing is covered. But basically, the more usage that happens through the network, the more demand that's created for Soundcoin. Because every single vote is all calculated using Soundcoin, that means there'll be, when this goes to scale, there'll be a lot of people using the tokens to do voting. And then the store of value for those token votes are kept in the token as well. So therefore, it will create a demand for the token. We have a couple of other things in the token economics that actually help to create that drive and demand, but essentially it's the users that will determine how rare the token is. And the rarer the token is, the higher the price will go. So the more tokens that are being in circulation that are actually being used, the higher the price will go. So for anybody purchasing, say, Soundcoin right now, that's the ask. We're starting at 10 cents per token. We have ambitious plans for it, and we have our own specific aims that we're aiming for. But depending on and I don't want to speculate because I'm not allowed to. But based on like the user, how many people are using the token over time, the return could be significant. But because of regulatory reasons, I can't say much more than that. But I guess people can use their imagination based on, okay, right now cryptocurrency markets are not doing fantastic, but it's very, very early days for this technology. And I don't think it's really being used very much across any kind of dApps, like the digitally distributed apps, or sorry, the decentralized apps, I should say. And so I think as these start to grow, this entire industry is going to bubble up. This is not going away. It's around for a long, long time. But I think you can use your imagination to kind of think of where this could potentially go. And then for investors in songs, as you mentioned, like 100x, I think is a fair number. We may change that, and we'll ask the users to be part of this process and determine what they feel is a fair maximum return of investment. Because what we want for every song is to make sure that as many people as possible get their money back and then some. Right. And so we want to make sure that return of investment, and it may be a rolling return of investment. It might start at a 20x cap month one. It might go further than there. So we've done so many different models and Excel sheets trying to figure this whole thing out and see how it might go. But I think 100x for the voters on songs. But with the token price, sound price, there's no limitation on that. That could be whatever number.
Okay, another question. What is the difference between Inmusik coin and the sound coin?
Okay. So actually, there is really no Inmusik coin that people can use per se. So sound coin is the actual purchasable one. People can buy sound coin and they can transact with sound coin. They can essentially, sell their sound coin as well. It's theirs once they own it. The Inmusik one, which we call Inmusik Cash, is locked to the US dollar, and it's only an internal token, so nobody can purchase this. Basically, what we're using the Inmusik Cash as a mechanism to capture everything from the streams to all the anything that happens around the platform, which would be considered a microtransaction. Because there's gas fees, because there's transaction fees on the Ethereum network, we don't want to run ourselves into a risk where if we were to capture, like say, Ed Sheeran's 56 million streams in one day on blockchain, that would be a huge cost within the network. So therefore, creating this other one, which has a near zero fee mechanism to it, means that we can actually capture all that data. And because it's locked to the US dollar, it means that streaming payouts then are consistent for the industry. And this was a necessity. When we started talking to the major labels, we realized that they don't want to be on a volatile market and be paid in a cryptocurrency that one day might be worth 2 cents, one day it might be 10 cents, the next day worth $20. Who knows?
Understandable sentiments, yeah.
Absolutely. Super important for them. So we created this other token locked to the US dollar so that all streaming transactions are all paid out in that. And then the artists can then they're converted using our own internal kind of exchange system, exchange that then for sound token. And then if they want to hold on to their sound token, they can do that in numerous different ways. But if they're holding on to it, then there's a volatility there, of course. But then with the major labels, we've worked out a mechanism that allows them to get their cash payout whenever they choose to get it within a slight buffering period that makes sure that we're protected. And we've, I think I've covered this in a previous one, and maybe we get into this in more detail later because this is a very, very complex ecosystem for this whole thing to work. But we've had some incredible minds working on this. We've been very fortunate to work with some of the best people in blockchain to help figure this whole thing out. So hopefully that explains the difference between Sound and Inmusik Cash.
Okay, I think we have time for one more question.
Go for it.
What is the measurable value of the Inmusik platform?
The measurable value of a music platform. Great question, by the way. I think the measurable value in the Inmusik platform is basically the usability, the number of users. I think the difference, if you compare it to something like, say, Steam, and it's people creating blog posts, people could argue that the blog post has a tangible value. And people could argue that that tangible value is not really there either. But I think nobody can argue the fact that a song, because it has a revenue stream associated with it. Like, say, for example, a blog, when I just push it up onto Medium, doesn't have a revenue stream that comes in. With Steam, and for anybody who doesn't know, it's basically people vote on blogs to say which one they like the best. And that vote then is they basically give a reward with that vote so that the person can earn some money from their blog. But a blog, therefore, on a normal platform doesn't generate revenue unless you're writing for, like you're a writer, you write for Forbes, different scenario. But in general sense, it doesn't pay you out. Music, though, is a different thing. And I think music has a tangible value. It was predefined in the old days with a CD price. It was then redefined when Steve Jobs brought out iTunes and put the 99 cents on a song. And now there's really no exact number associated with a song. It's all due to the amount of payouts from streams. But still, that is a tangible value. So I think the value is in the content itself, being on the platform, and the user's incentive to engage in that. And so basically, the more people that are using and are interacting with that content, the more people that are voting, the more people that are listening, that is what's going to be the success of this company. And that's one of the other things why we went after the major labels, and because we understood very clearly that if we were to go independent route only, we were massively limiting ourselves to how this might work. And then I would be answering this question in a very, very different way. The fact that we're working with the major labels or aiming to get their guys across the line on licensing deals, it just means that we will give people what they want. And there's no barrier in terms of content to entry for the general public. And that's why this could actually be a conduit to bringing a cryptocurrency and a cryptocurrency product to a mainstream audience. I mean, everybody listens to music. Everybody loves music. It's something so many people consume on a day-to-day basis. So it really lends itself well to that. But anyway, long kind of explanation to get to a short answer. I think the value is really in the users. And I think the value that the users are putting in the platform is the content that's on there. Hopefully that answers the question.
Steve, something caught my eye here. Someone's actually asked, Can Steve and Brett play guitar now?
Yes, I can play the guitar. Can I play it now? Is there either?
Do we have time?
God Almighty!
We actually have a few minutes left, but
this is. Let me see. I'm not prepared for this at all. I wasn't expecting this question, so this is going to take me a second because I have a guitar amp here beside me, but it's.
Have to please the audience.
Yes, indeed. Hold on a second. I need to take this off. Actually, you know what? I might, because the microphone in this. Okay, give me 1 second. Come on.
This should be cool.
This is the quickest little blast you've ever heard. So I won't play long, obviously, because I don't want to be boring people anyway. Here, let me see if I can put that down. And plug it in. By the way, who asked this question? Because I have to get these guys back at it. Mr. Vikram.
Yes.
I'm on to you, Mr. Vikram, wherever you are. Thank you very much for asking the question, but putting me on the spot here. Let me see. Hopefully the neighbors are awake. Can you hear that? Is that okay? There you go. That's all you're going to get.
Awesome. That was the first time I've actually heard Steve play guitar as well. Nice.
I don't play that often anymore. I used to play when I was younger, like hours and hours every day. But actually, hold on a second. These days, it's kind of, working so much. It's maybe 10 minutes at best, twice a week. So, rusty, a little bit rusty. But anyway, that's my first public performance in probably 15 years. So there you go.
Vikram, I'm glad you asked him to play. That was cool.
I'm not glad you asked me to play. So, oops, that's okay. Sorry, right. Very precious. Okay, cool. I think it was pretty much wrapping up time-wise, are we?
Yeah, it is actually. We're now at half an hour. Well, before we wrap up, Steve, was there anything that you wanted to add?
Actually, yes. As always, for these webinar events, anybody who's been attending the last one and this one, you're going to find out, we always like to give a bonus to everybody who attends because, well, one, to take time out of your busy schedules to join us here and learn more about what we're doing. We really, really appreciate it. And so a token gesture to you guys to say thank you for your time is that there'll be a link popping up on the bottom of this in the chat here someplace. And jumping onto that link, we're giving a 25% bonus on anything that's purchased in the next 24 hours. So it's a small gesture, but it's a gesture nonetheless to say thank you so much. And also, I just wanted to thank you, Barbara, for being a great moderator today. It's thank you so much, and for the team. I'm very lucky because I just need to turn up here and talk and then play the guitar. But everybody else is a team of people behind this to make sure this all runs smoothly and that everything is working as expected. So thank you so much to all the team. So Val, Pia, Vivian, and all our designers who are doing an incredible job on the visual side of things. So Patricia, Christine, Faith. There's so many people to mention. So thank you so much to the team for helping to put this together.
To our audience, I know there were some questions that went unanswered. You can always drop us a line at hello@inmusik.co, that's .co, or you can also hop onto our Telegram, just search for Inmusik on there, and then our channel should pop up. And thank you very much for joining us here. By the way, we're going to be doing these webinars on a bi-monthly basis. So in future episodes, we're going to be guesting, prominent figures in the music industry, business space, blockchain space. So please stay tuned for that. Our next webinar number 3, we've already got a topic for that, and that would be problems faced by the music industry and what Inmusik is doing to help solve that. So please stay tuned. And I guess that's it.
Great. Thank you so much,
everyone. Thank you again to everyone. Bye.
Okay. Bye-bye.